MIT Center for Future Skills Excellence, MIT Art, Design and Technology University, Pune. India brings together the world's top tech women influencers leading the exponential technology domain and rising awareness on trending hot topics such as blockchain technology, data science, AI and ML, cybersecurity, cloud computing, metaverse, fintech, robotics, digital transformation and many more.
Join the second International Virtual Summit on Women Frontiers in Exponential Technology from 5th to 8th March 2022. Proudly organized by MIT Center for Future Skills Excellence India. Visit mitfuturesskills.org/WFET or call on 7066995599. Transform yourself into a winning professional.
A very good evening to one and all present here. This is Suruchi Bhatt and I'm going to be the host for the session. On behalf of MIT Center for Future Skills Excellence, MIT Art, Design and Technology University, Pune, it is my pleasure to welcome all the esteemed guests and enthusiastic participants from all parts of the globe. This is the second International Virtual Summit on Women Frontiers in Exponential Technology, the platform to get inspired, informed and guided by global technology leaders. At the outset, let me welcome my lovely keynote speaker, Ms. Peggy Tsai, Chief Data Officer at BigID and board member of Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Thank you so much for joining with us, ma'am.
Thank you, Suruchi, for having me here today.
MIT Art, Design and Technology believes in starting every journey of knowledge by seeking blessings from Goddess Saraswati. May I request you all to please join your hands for Saraswati Vandana. Thank you very much. The MIT Center for Future Skills Excellence, under the guidance of MIT Art, Design and Technology University, is proud to bring on one platform, women who are world motivators on in technology. The second International Virtual Summit on Women Frontiers and Exponential Technology is an attempt to salute women who influence and motivate, along with create awareness on the power of emerging technologies and career growth. To know more about the initiative, I am pleased to introduce you to Professor Suraj Bhoyar, Project Director, MIT Center for Future Skills Excellence. Professor Bhoyar is a passionate digital evangelist at MIT ADT University. A postgraduate in mechanical engineering, patents law, and in educational administration, he is keen to develop an ecosystem for nurturing skill development as well as employability. His dynamic role in getting future skills training for career aspirants make him confident to build an enterprising and innovative India. He dreams to reshape the lives of students and working professionals via excellence in future exponential technologies, which will have a strong technological impact in tomorrow's economy. With an exponential learning curve and an amazing networking skill, his dream is to lead the Ministry of Higher and Technical Education for better industry institute interaction ecosystem development. May I please request Sir to address the participants?
Thank you, Suruchi. Thank you so much for a lovely introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to one and all. It is a great pleasure to welcome you all to the fifth keynote session of third day for the second International Virtual Summit on Women Frontiers in Exponential Technology, proudly organized by MIT Center for Future Skills Excellence, MIT Art, Design and Technology University, Pune. With this, let me first acknowledge the presence of our eminent guest today. It is indeed our pleasure to have amongst us the chief guest of the keynote session, Peggy Tsai, Chief Data Officer at BigID and board member at Massachusetts Institute of Technology. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you.
I also take immense pleasure to welcome Honorable Executive President and Vice Chancellor of MIT EDT University, Professor Dr. Mangesh Karad, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for gracing the occasion with your immense presence, and your presence indeed a great source of inspiration to every one of us. I would also like to welcome Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor Dr. Ananta Chakradev, sir, for being with us today. I am happy to welcome Dr. Ramakant Kaple, Director IQAC, and Professor Dr. Sunita Karad, ma'am, Dean Management and Director ICT. I am taking this opportunity to welcome Dr. Mahesh Chopre, Registrar MIT EDT University. We are delighted to welcome all the deans, directors, principals, HOIs, HODs, faculty members, delegates, and the organizing team members from MIT Center for Future Skills Excellence. We are really honored and thankful to all of you for joining us today. The second International Virtual Summit is dedicated to addressing the concerns, sharing information, and ways to make improvements in skills and learning space in order to assist firms and individuals in developing future-ready strategies for the common benefit of global workplaces as well as challenges in computing technology for Generation Z. Individuals and companies alike are willing to keep up with the transition which everyone has been experiencing so far from Industry 4.0 to 5.0. But the current technical frontier requires skill sets. Being International Summit, this is the synergy of information, knowledge, and wisdom. With the aim of equipping stakeholders with required skills and knowledge, MIT Center for Future Skills Excellence at MIT EDT University pursues upskilling and upgrading initiatives being the primary objectives at large. My dear friends, artificial intelligence is everywhere. Have you ever asked Alexa the morning weather report or shortest route to the office? Or you may be passed through a public space that uses facial recognition technology, or paid for something using your credit card, or bought a product recommended by Amazon, or even browsed potential love matches on a dating app, right? Of course you have. Most of us have done at least or all of these things, probably in the last week, probably in last 24 hours. And you guessed it all? Yes, all of these everyday purchases are underpinned. These processes are underpinned by the AI and data. My dear friends, AI is going to change the world more than anything in the history of mankind, and more than electricity, right? And modern artificial intelligence system can capture and understand their environment in real time. They can make optimal decisions based on multiple signals in milliseconds. And with the applications ranging from self-driving cars to healthcare, AI is already altering our world we live. The progress in artificial intelligence technology, along with the expanding capabilities of handling and processing massive volumes of the data, drives these major technological revolution. And we are about to experience all this. In the context of Internet of Things, billions of connected devices will be sending events, operational or other data, which will be stored or processed by the advanced big data, machine learning, and artificial intelligence technology. And this wealth of data, combined with the increasing ability to automatically make sense of it, it will also create unprecedented opportunities for improvement across health, lifestyle, transportation, education, and practically every human activity. So AI isn't just infiltrating everyday life, it is going to transform entire industries as well. This is truly momentous time for machine learning in the enterprises. With the investment soaring and growing number of use cases that can create tangible business value, which everyone is looking upon. As consumer expectations grow for more personalized, relevant, and assistive experiences, machine learning is becoming invaluable tool to meet those demands, my dear friends. Even organizations are still struggling with important phases of AI/ML lifecycle. One particular challenge stands out is governance. Yes, you heard it right. A lack of robust governance doesn't limit the potential success of your AI/ML deployment or initiative. It could put your entire business in a peril as well. One of the major findings in recent algorithmia's enterprise trends in machine learning, around 58% organizations said that they struggle with the governance. They struggle with the security. They struggle with the auditability of this enterprise value chain. That makes governance by far the topmost challenge that every organization currently faces as they scale up their AI/ML deployment and initiatives and put more AI/ML models than ever into the production. So this is the significant issue that affects most of the organization. 67% of enterprises surveys for the report said that their AI/ML initiative must comply with multiple regulations. And just 8%, my dear friends, 8% reported that they did not have comply with any regulatory rules at all. So failing to prioritize governance doesn't put your AI/ML initiatives at risk, it could also jeopardize your entire business. So without further ado, my dear friend, let's listen to our keynote speaker, Peggy Tsai. She is Chief Data Officer at BigID. So let's explore more about reimagining data governance with AI/ML. Because modern technologies are elevating the importance of data governance, but many organizations continue to rely on outdated approaches to the task. A new governance framework can help to reduce the risk and maximize the value of the data and algorithms that increasingly drive competitive advantage. So lastly, on the behalf of organizing team, MIT Center for Future Skills Excellence, I personally hope that this International Virtual Summit 2022 fulfills your expectation and sets a milestone in taking your careers and knowledge to the greater heights. And we express our deep sense of appreciation to all the keynote speakers for their support and kind encouragement so that we could organize event at such a large scale. So thank you so much. I would not take much of your time. Now I request Suruchi to take it over. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, your company relies on data, which means it relies on data governance. Data governance represents a huge opportunity for both you and your company. How to get efficient, consistent, and scalable data governance with ML prompted validation. We'll try to understand in this session. It is our pleasure to have Ms. Peggy Tsai, Chief Data Officer at BigID and board member to MIT. But before that, we do have an AV. I please request the technical team to play it. Ms. Peggy Tsai is currently the Chief Data Officer at BigID. BigID is an advanced AI data discovery platform that helps enterprises identify and protect their customer and entity information on structured and unstructured sources. She has over 18 years of practitioner experience in data management, stewardship and governance in financial services industry. And Ms. Tsai has a master's in information systems from the New York University along with a bachelor's of arts in economics from the Cornell University. She's experienced in strategically designing and implementing enterprise data management programs in the financial services and insurance industries with hands-on expertise in regulatory compliance programs. She also focuses on elevating data governance programs with new innovative technology, specifically machine learning and artificial intelligence. She is actively learning new technologies and testing out new products to align with business strategies. She is passionate about sharing her innovative technology ideas by mentoring, speaking at student clubs, and organizing events through Women in Technology groups. In her spare time, she tweets and writes about her favorite topics, including data governance, women in data, and the future of fintech. We're indeed honored to have Ms. Peggy with us today for the second International Virtual Summit on Women Frontiers in Exponential Technology.
Thank you so much, Peggy, for being with us. Now session is all yours.
Thank you so much, Professor. And I am very pleased to be here today. So like the introduction said, it's a very humbled introduction. Thank you so much for putting that together. So what I wanted to really talk about today was reimagining data governance with artificial intelligence and machine learning. But the title, as the title implies, data governance today has to have some inherent deficiencies and faults, and that is why there's a need to reinvent it. And I'm really pleased to be here today to talk about and share with everyone the 18-year plus experience I have in working in Wall Street in New York City, financial services companies, where I mainly worked in areas of centers of excellence where the data was a focus, whether data was reporting under the chief technology officer or the data function was in the line of business. It is always about the data and how it can drive business outcomes and business processes. And I will happily share with everyone today some of the lessons that I learned through my past and how I believe that it is no longer the right path to do things and to manage data. And as introduction said, there is so much more complexity today with data in terms of Internet of Things and the way that AI and algorithms are prevalent everywhere. So it's now more important than ever that everyone, regardless of your role in an organization and what team function you're in, you need to be responsible about knowing how data is used and making sure that the latest technologies are used in your organizations to make sure that you govern and manage data properly. So first, to start off, I always like to talk about definitions so that everyone knows what we are talking about, what I am talking about today. What is data governance? This is a terminology that you may have heard, but might not always have the right understanding. So let me make sure everyone understands what I mean by data governance. Data governance is a program or function in an organization that is driven by people, process, and technology. This is a group of people in an organization that is responsible for data management, data quality, data stewardship, data policies, and they can report into a technology function or a line of business. And their responsibilities is not just about making sure that data is correct or trusted. They also have to create and enforce the rules so that consistent data management is done throughout the entire life cycle of that data asset. So think about data as a product. Data must first be sourced, created at the onset, and then throughout the life cycle of the data, it must be managed, enriched, and made sure that it is consistent and the same and accurate throughout the journey of the data in the organizations through systems and through people and report. And finally, at the end of the data life cycle, it must be properly deleted or retained depending on the policy. The purpose of good data management is to ensure that organizations are getting value out of that data. They are taking advantage of the knowledge and insights that the data provides inside the organization. But it must also ensure that the data reduces the risk for the organizations. So data in its essence is information to power decisions that executives need to make on a daily basis. So let's think about the challenges that data management has in an organization. Most organizations on the very top, just like an iceberg, very top of the iceberg, they know what data they have. This is the data that they have stored in their data warehouses, their data lakes. They know what it is, and they know exactly where it can be found. That is called known data. But what's beneath the iceberg, and that's the larger percentage of data, is what we call unknown data. This can be dark data, data that hasn't been found or discovered, or it's not inventoried anywhere. This can be the plethora of sensitive or intellectual property data, personal data, inaccurate data. This is information that hasn't been properly inventoried, labeled, or classified. That means your business analysts, your data analysts, your data science teams are not taking advantage of this information of data that's beneath the iceberg. And that's where the biggest potential is for many organizations. Imagine if an organization has full understanding of the data that's beneath the surface. If they're able to connect through master data management, through regular data governance processes that can connect the known data with the unknown data, there's more powerful information, there's more powerful products and insights that can be developed, and that can set them apart from their competitors. Data governance has many different personas in the organizations. So let me talk about two important personas and what they're responsible for. First, there is a chief data officer. Many of you may have heard this term, and my title is also chief data officer. This is a person that is responsible for promoting data enablement in the organization. They lead the data strategy. They will decide on the technology strategy and really be able to focus on the business problems that can be decided based on good data. The chief data officer is also responsible for improving the data literacy and changing the data culture in the organization. This means that they want every single citizen in that organization to be data literate. What does that mean, to be data literate? It means that they want people to understand how data is used, how data should be read, how to utilize business intelligence tools to interpret data, and to make sure that everyone has the same fundamental understanding of how data should be used. Beneath the chief data officer are data stewards. Data stewards are people in organizations, whether they sit in technology or in business, and they make sure that the life cycle of the data is documented from beginning to the end. These are the people in our organizations that define the data with it through a business glossary. They work on data quality rules. They manage the entire data life cycle, and they build out these workflows and processes. Data stewards can work with IT owners. They can work with business subject matter experts. They can work throughout the whole entire organizations, because they are responsible for knowing the impact of changes in the data, and they need to be responsible for knowing where their data touches in the entire organization. This is a very big job, and not all organizations will have a job title of data steward. The reason for that is they may assign other people in data operations or people in the business to perform the function of data stewards. But essentially, many organizations should have this title of data stewards to ensure that they are responsibly managing their data. Now, this is a quote from my good friend, Jacqueline Osborne. She is the Chief Risk and Finance Data Quality Control Executive at Bank of America. And recently, she did a webinar event with me where she talked about organizations being data rich, but insight poor. What she meant by this is that organizations, even banks like Bank of America, have a lot of data. They're data rich. They have lots of data warehouses, data lakes, data repositories. They're storing and creating lots of data. But the problem they have is that they're insight poor. That means that they cannot take advantage of understanding the meaning behind the data. They cannot take advantage and leverage the predictions that the data can give them. So her full quote says, "We were data rich, insight poor. You don't know what you don't have." Now let's talk about some of the governance use cases surrounding data. And this is what I love to talk about, especially because there's no purpose in creating a data governance program if you don't align the governance program with the business use case. That is data strategy 101. If any organization that you work at does not have a clear business initiative around data governance, then it will certainly fail. So, in order to make data governance programs successful, this is what it needs to align with. These are the business problems it needs to solve. You have to articulate why the data is important to solve and help these 5 business use cases. And these are very standard use cases, regardless of the industry: financial services, healthcare, retail, insurance, manufacturing. It doesn't matter what industry it's in. Good data governance will help solve these problems. First, drive business innovation. How can the organization do better and faster with more data and with better data? The challenge here is often, as I said, the unknown data that's beneath the iceberg. Data scientists cannot leverage that to make better decisions. Imagine if they could change that around. They could change the way the business operates. Secondly, data lifecycle management. This is really important because you want to be able to manage data better as you create it, you inventory it. You want to have good data quality rules. You want to enrich the data throughout the life cycle, and then you want to properly deprecate and delete the data. It's really important in terms of compliance internally, as well as, depending on the industry, it may have additional industry regulations as well. Reducing risk. This is also very important because there are regulations out there that dictate specifically how long you should be keeping your data. For example, in human resources, there are policies that say how long you should be keeping employee resumes, employee files. It's really important that you do not keep more data than you should. It can be putting yourself at more risk. So you want to be able to find, through data management, those specific files and documents and delete as needed. Number 4, build customer trust. When I mean customer, I also mean internal customers. Within your organizations, they need to trust that the data that they're using to create a dashboard, create a report, create models, that they can trust it and use it. And the reason why there's a lot of distrust in organizations today is because there are many copies of data, there are duplications. Internal employees do not know what is the right authoritative source or right golden copy to use. And through good data governance, you can apply good customer trust. Last but not least, achieve compliance. I'm going to be talking a lot today about a lot of protection and privacy laws. These are some of the compliance rules that affect many organizations today. And it's important to have good data governance to achieve and make sure that you are compliant with those. Here are some of the challenges that many organizations, regardless of industry, regardless of the size of the company, these are the pain points that they have with data governance. 1, the complexity of data today. Organizations predominantly have, structured data, very clean data that's saved in, nice structured repositories. But the challenge with the new way of collecting information is that there's a lot of unstructured, a lot of documents, images, emails. These are all additional points that can be taken in understanding and evaluating models. Data is constantly changing. I think the amount of data that's being created in organizations and externally makes it very difficult to keep up with the quality of that data, especially if you're only using manual processes. Data is siloed. What that means is that different lines of business like to keep data in their own specific data warehouse. That means that if you want to do enterprise reporting across these lines of business, it's very difficult to stitch together the information. For example, one line of business could be calculating things in different units. So it's very difficult to actually know what the combined full picture looks like. In the United States, we like to call this, apples and oranges. It's very difficult to calculate together. So the environment of data becoming very complex. We talk to a lot of customers who now have hybrid cloud environments, and the challenges with governing that has grown multifold. The fact that data is now no longer in one singular place. Retention regulations, this is where a growing number of compliance issues are coming up. Depending on the geography and region and industry, there are different laws that tell you and dictate to companies how long they should be keeping their documents and files. And it's more important than ever. IT technology companies, they spend a lot of time just finding the data that meets the retention regulations. And that is time that should be spent on other more important things in organizations. And lastly, organizations are not just creating data within themselves. There are data marketplaces and shared platforms where organizations can be creating and helping to amend to their existing data sources. And this is the priority for data governance program within an organization. They need to collect data, they need to catalog their information, they need to have specific definitions and put data quality in. Data quality is very important because garbage in, garbage out. If you don't have good data management and data governance as the foundation, then the output, the results, what the algorithm says about whether or not you can be approved for a credit card, those outcomes are very important. People's lives and decisions are based on these algorithms. So if you do not have good data from the beginning and the onset, then you cannot trust the results. So these are the questions that a chief data officer and anyone building out a data governance program needs to think about. Who owns your data? There's usually a data domain and a data owner that's responsible. For example, a data domain can be customer data, product data, transactional data. Those are 3 examples of data domains. And usually there's an owner applied to that data domain set. They also need to know, what does it mean? And this is where a data governance program builds out a business glossary. And these business glossary has a definition. It explains the usage. It explains the prioritization. This is information that is documented so that it can be consistently understood across the enterprise. Where does it come from? Data lineage is a very important question that I hear almost every day. Organizations do not know the source of their data. They do not know where that data has moved across from system A to system B to application C. They do not know these different hopping points, and that is a big problem for them, because if they need to make additional changes or retroactive a decision, they need to know exactly the impact of where the data has touched and in what systems. When does it expire? This goes back to retention. It's very important, again, for organizations to meet the retention schedules and delete data as needed. Why is it important? This is the most important aspect of data governance when it comes to data science and data modeling. They need to understand how the data is being used, what defines the data set through attributes. They put tags and labels to make sure that everyone can later on search and find the data. This gives data context. Context is very important. For example, I can show you a date. A date can mean account date. It can mean birth date. It can be opening date, transaction date. There can be many types of meaning behind a date depending on the context and depending on the business process it's being applied to. Therefore, attributes, tags helps give that context and helps give downstream users the understanding of how that data should be used. Next point, how it should be used. This also relates to data sensitivity. When it comes to many organizations can have personal data that's considered sensitive, or it can consider intellectual property as being very sensitive information. So that in itself needs to be properly tagged and treated differently to make sure that your most critical data elements in your organization is fully governed. And is it fit for a purpose? This is also very important when it comes to data quality, because sometimes there are certain things that need to be 100% accurate, complete, and validated, and other times, other data elements in the organization, you can consider having a lower level of data quality and it still be acceptable. That is up to the data governance of program for your organizations. But all this would not be possible without first knowing what data do we have. Many organizations today still do not know what data they own in their organizations, what data they're creating, what data they're storing, and what data they're deleting. That is the biggest problem. And according to Wendy Turner-Williams, Chief Data Officer at Tableau, you cannot govern what you don't know. And that is the biggest problem, my friends. The information that's in the underneath the iceberg is what you don't know, and therefore you cannot govern it. So moving towards thinking about technology, thinking about solutions, what can organizations know today? I've already talked about some of the problems, some of the challenges, and why this is so important, but why does it matter? These are some of the critical steps why it matters. So if they cannot govern their data, they don't know, they can't make better data decisions, right? If they're available to them, they can make better decisions. They can apply consistent rules across the organizations, across the different lines of business. And they want to be scalable and very efficient. They don't want to do things, they don't want to have 10 different processes for managing data. It's better if they can apply one that is leverageable across the board. They want to make sure that data is reusable across the board, especially when you're talking about singular lines of reporting. When it comes to financial reporting, risk reporting, they want to make sure that the value of their data is seen. Increasing data trust, again, a very important theme here. It's important for internal users and external customers to trust the information that's coming out. And lastly, reducing cost. This is one of the primary drivers of building a data governance program, is because the friction and resources it takes to validate and verify information, it just takes a lot of time, and spending a lot of those critical business resources is very expensive. So they want to make sure they can do things efficiently and be able to make sure it's accurate at the same time. So many technologies today that have data governance, that sell data governance, is broken. They are, the reason why we're reimagining it is because the offerings today take a very passive approach to data management and data governance. It's not very business friendly, therefore not a lot of adoption amongst organizations. And it doesn't take into effect the fact that there is so much data happening today. The way that data governance is done is a very top-level approach. And here's a quote by Enza Anopolo, a principal analyst at Forrester, who said that automated data discovery is the foundation of good data governance. It's talking about using integrated applications that can support data privacy, data protection, and data perspective, and let customers solve their privacy and data management challenges. And here's what I see today. Just in the last 2 years, I would say that it's not just about data governance. The same questions that data governance people like myself have been asking, it's about business glossary, data lineage, data quality. Those are all good questions that are also being driven by a chief privacy officer and your chief security officer. These three chief officers are asking the same information in terms of quality of their data, knowing your data, governing your data. And as an effect of that, a lot of consulting firms, a lot of technologies are now thinking about data governance as a broader suite across compliance, security, cyber risk. The reason why everyone is talking about it is because it all boils down to the same common theme. It's all about knowing your data. Now, here's where there are differentiators when it comes to technologies and how it can reimagine data governance. One, it must be able to have broad data coverage. In the past, other technology solutions and processes, they only focus on structured data or unstructured data, or they only focused on on-prem. That's not the reality of the way that technology is deployed. It's about having all these types of streaming data, cloud data, being able to govern all types of data regardless of where it is. Secondly, it's all about context, being able to understand by looking at the data itself, being able to understand the context and being able to infer and provide those insights and inferences directly to those data stewards to make the right decisions. Third, automatically identify sensitive data. There are many classifiers that can be built today using regular expressions that can identify and find personal data, personally identifiable data, such as IP settings, cookie settings, race, gender, ethnicity. Those are standard personally identifiable information. The majority of technologies today can leverage regular expressions, but beyond that, there is lots of information stored in text fields, unstructured documents that must also comply with privacy regulations today. And that's why it's very important to select an AI machine learning technology that can find information in the right context and in the right format. Fourth, the open platform and metadata exchange. Most technologists can admit today that there's no one single solution that can solve all their problems. Therefore, it's important for a data governance solution to have this open platform, this interoperability, especially when it comes to exchanging metadata with other tools to make sure it's integrated with your organization's critical applications. Point number 5, being able to take action. This is really important when you're talking about data stewards who need to do additional enrichment activities like building out a business glossary, putting data quality rules in place. You need to empower your data steward to take action on top of the information that's already been collected inside your data governance foundation. Last but not least, a machine learning augmented data catalog. This is so important. In the 15 years that I practiced data governance in financial services, I never had a machine learning augmented catalog. What I had was a manual augmented catalog, meaning I had to manually create it, download spreadsheets, upload it, input it one by one through a user interface. This is very manual, tedious, and slow. What needs to reimagine today is the fact that AI machine learning can connect directly to your data sources, automatically pull out the metadata that's needed, and automatically build a data catalog for data stewards and chief data officers to start using right away. This will help reduce a lot of manual tasks. And here's the 4-step approach to data governance from a bottoms-up approach. How to use automated machine learning data management from bottoms up. And this is the new way of doing data governance today. First, start by automated data discovery. It should not be a top-down crowdsourcing approach. We should leverage technologies that we have to connect to all the different data sources and then bring forth together in a catalog of all the important metadata and technology objects into one singular place. 2, technologies to provide the right context for understanding the data. 3rd, we should have applications for data stewards to enrich, validate, and verify the data through applications like stewardship, data quality. And lastly, have additional applications to manage the data lifecycle management of that data through retention and deletion and remediation. Now I'm going to talk about some use cases before I close out my keynote here. And it's really been a pleasure talking to everybody so far and sharing my knowledge with everyone. But here's some of the really important case studies that how we have helped organizations today. Case study number 1. This is a large financial services company talking about global commercial as well as investment activities. And what they have is a lack of understanding about where their data is. If you think about different lines of business, different countries that they operate in, they don't have a common set of definitions as they build out their applications and internal systems. So that what they want is efficient glossary creation and management. They want to be able to certify and validate their data and identify the proper data owners. And they want to do that in a very quick way so that they don't prolong the process of governance. Very important for all financial services, and I say all regulated industries, is having good audit trails, audit changes that must be tracked. And they must make sure that their duplications in their data, they're consolidating. It's very important that they don't keep multiple copies of their data in the cloud and on their on-premise. And they want to be able to do this full data mapping, data lineage. There are a lot of benefits for them as they've seen in executing on their data lifecycle, as well as complying with data retention policies. The second use case we have is a very large international retail company. GDPR, or General Data Protection Rights, the European Union protection law, was the reason why they embarked on a data governance journey. They needed to have a better inventory of all their personal assets that they were creating. Imagine customer data, employee data. They need to make sure that they can comply with GDPR and make sure that they avoid the large fines that came with not complying. So it came to discovery, inventorying their data, finding all their privacy data. They want to make sure they can prevent insider threats. Cybersecurity was a huge problem for them. Mergers and acquisitions. Like many organizations, they've gone through acquiring and buying out other companies. They want to make sure that they understood what data they had as they acquired new companies. Many retail companies today are online. They're streaming. They have web apps. They have a lot of new ways of reaching and communicating with their customers. And they want to make sure the data in motion, data in streaming pipelines was something that they can monitor for personal information. They want to validate the data, and also they were doing a project with moving their data to another system called Workday. So they want to be able to validate that data very quickly. Third use case is an airline company that is one of our customers. For this job, there are many ways to do data governance, whether you start from the IT side or the business side. There are many opportunities here. Focus on what you like to do best, whether that's on the technology side or on the business side. Eventually, it all comes down to data. So you will eventually get there. And I would say attend these wonderful conferences and events where you can learn from other data practitioners and experts that will help you during your interviews and then do a lot of reading. It's very important to stay on top of current knowledge.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for those insightful deliberations. We will just take a few more minutes before we end the session. So friends, data, as we saw today itself, data governance definitely provides clarity and safeguard against poor data management and non-compliance. And you just have got to do it because it's today, it's not for the tomorrow. So you have to learn it. MIT Center for Future Skills Excellence is the flagship initiative of MIT Art, Design and Technology University, which is solely dedicated to reshape the lives of students and working professionals via excellence in future exponential technologies and to have a strong impact in tomorrow's economy. Career aspirants can pursue postgraduate diplomas and certifications in current technologies like AI and ML, cloud computing, cybersecurity analyst, blockchain technology, data science, Internet of Things, ERP, SAP, and so on. We would be more than happy to help you in your journey of upskilling with emerging technologies. Thank you, Peggy, ma'am, and over to you, Suruchi.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And a bigger thank you to our keynote speaker. Your point of views and insights upon data for power decisions, challenges upon data management, being data literate, and the importance of the same that it holds in the society of today, data life cycle, challenges that one faces amidst the problems that we have, amidst the plethora of information that you've shared with us today. These are going to be some of the key factors that we will be taking back. So thank you very much for that. Once again, I'd like to tell you that I'll take a few minutes to thank my mentors and supporters for the event. We're blessed for the constant support and encouragement from Honorable Professor Dr. Mangesh Karaj sir, Executive President and Vice Chancellor, MIT ADT University. A big thank you to our mentors, Dr. Anand Chakradev sir, Pro Vice Chancellor, and Dr. Mahesh Chopre sir, Registrar, MIT ADT University, for their constant cooperation and motivation in such events. I extend my sincere appreciation to all the deans, directors, HOIs, and HODs at MIT ADT University. Your support encourages us to progress and flourish. I'm thankful to our ecosystem partners who supported and guided us throughout the International Virtual Summit. A huge thank you to our knowledge partners, University at Buffalo, Blockchain Think Lab, California Science and Technology University, Center for Finance, Technology and Entrepreneurship, and Natalie EV Consulting. To our technology partners, Asset Rush, Kaleido, BigID, PayMonk, InnoWise, Steezy, Settlement, Securo, Robotex India, and Radicad. A big thank you to our education partners, Microsoft, Salesforce, Atos, SAP, EduPeer, AI Beehive, CloudTat, and Skills Factory. A big thank you to our community partners, OVAS Foundation, Women in Cybersecurity and Privacy, InfoSec Girls, India Blockchain Forum, Global Blockchain Business Council, Women in Blockchain Talks, MKAI. Our inspiration is our innovation partners, AIC, MIT ADT Incubator Forum, Cerebro Spark Innovations LLP. To our certification partner, True Scholar, and an even bigger thank you to our digital marketing partner, Brand Niti Integrated Strategic Advertising and Media Agency. Finally, I'd like to thank the audience from the bottom of my heart who took out their precious time and joined us today. I request you to kindly share your valuable feedback. The link will be in the chat box. Today was a day full of knowledge, experience, insightful deliberations, and motivation. We will be continuing this journey once again tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. sharp. Please note the insightful sessions that are lined up for tomorrow on the screen, or you could look them up on www.mitfuturesskills.org/WFET for the detailed schedule. Let us meet once again using the very same link tomorrow for the session Unleash the Power of Power BI by Helen Wall, founder and principal, Helen Data Design. I declare that today's session over. I hope to see you tomorrow again. Till then, please be safe, keep learning, keep motivated. We hope you have a great evening.